5 seconds to go. Start. The respondent also argues that he has acted in good faith throughout the proceedings and has consistently sought a resolution to the marital discord. He claims that the appellant's unwillingness to accept the breakdown of the marriage has prolonged the litigation unnecessarily. The respondent submits that granting a divorce would not only end the prolonged legal battle but also allow both parties to rebuild their lives independently. We have heard Mrs. V. Mohana, learned senior counsel appearing for the appellant, and Miss Haripriya Padmanabhan, learned senior counsel appearing on behalf of the respondent. Upon careful consideration of the submissions made by the parties and the facts established in this case, this court finds itself in agreement with the decision of the High Court, which granted a decree of divorce in favor of the respondent husband. The appellant's arguments centered around procedural challenges under Section 100 of the CPC, and her insistence on reconciliation failed to address the core and undeniable realities of the marriage between the parties. On the contrary, the evidence on record unequivocally demonstrates grounds of cruelty, prolonged separation, and an irretrievable breakdown of the marital relationship. These grounds, coupled with legal precedents cited by the High Court, leave no room for doubt that the marriage has lost its essence and that its continuation would serve no meaningful purpose. One of the primary grounds for the dissolution of the marriage is the appellant's conduct, which constitutes mental cruelty under Section 13(1)(1)(a) of HMA. The respondent has provided sufficient evidence to show that the appellant was engaged in a pattern of behavior that caused him immense mental and emotional distress. This included filing false and baseless criminal complaints against the respondent and his family, which not only strained their relationship but also caused significant damage to his reputation and peace of mind. In NG Dastane Supra, this court laid down the principle that cruelty is not confined to physical violence but also encompasses actions that inflict mental pain and suffering that creates a reasonable apprehension of harm or injury to the aggrieved spouse from the conduct of the other spouse so as to make it impossible for them to stay together. In the present case, the appellant's conduct, including the initiation of frivolous legal proceedings, falls squarely within the definition of mental cruelty. The respondent's claim is further supported by this court's judgment in Samar Ghosh Supra, wherein it was recognized that actions causing sustained emotional torment and loss of trust in the marital relationship constitutes cruelty. Moreover, the evidence suggests that the appellant's actions were not isolated incidents but formed a pattern of behavior that made cohabitation impossible. In V. Bhagat versus D. Bhagat, this court emphasized that sustained and deliberate acts of cruelty make it unreasonable to expect one spouse to continue living with the other. The fact that the parties have been living separately for 2 decades now further reinforces the conclusion that the marriage is no longer viable. Prolonged separation, as observed in K. Srinivas Rao versus D. A. Deepa, creates a presumption of the marriage having irretrievably broken down. In this case, the parties have not shared a marital life since 2004 and all attempts at reconciliation have failed. Marriage is a relationship built on mutual trust, companionship, and shared experiences. When these essential elements are missing for an extended period, the marital bond becomes a mere legal formality devoid of any substance. This court has consistently held that prolonged separation coupled with inability to reconcile is a relevant factor in deciding matrimonial disputes. In the present case, the length of separation and the evident animosity between the parties make it clear that there is no possibility of the marriage being revived. Although irretrievable breakdown of marriage is not a statutory ground for divorce under the HMA, this court has, in appropriate cases, invoked its powers under Article 142 of the Constitution of India to grant relief where the marriage is beyond repair. In Naveen Kohli Supra, this court observed that when a marriage has irretrievably broken down, forcing the parties to remain together serves no purpose and only prolongs their misery. The evidence in the present case points unequivocally to an irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. The appellant and the respondent have been embroiled in legal disputes for years with no signs of reconciliation. The respondent has expressed his desire to move on with his life, while the appellant, despite her assertions to the contrary, has failed to demonstrate any genuine willingness to repair the relationship. As held by this court in Ashoka Hura versus Rupa Bipin Javeri and Shilpa Selesh versus Varun Srinivasan, prolonging a dead marriage serves no interest and only perpetuates the agony of the parties involved. It is evident from the record that continuation of the marriage would only lead to further animosity and litigation, causing harm to both parties. The appellant's insistence on reconciliation appears to be more of a strategy to prolong the proceedings rather than a genuine effort to revive the relationship. In matrimonial disputes, this court has emphasized the need to prioritize welfare and dignity of both parties. Stop.